Zeus is many things, but he's no pure.
Hey, you okay, Ladybug? You good?
I think so.
Peter, protect the Guardians. Thanos separated their souls from their bodies. If they're out too long, they will die.
I don't know how to fix that.
No, I know you don't, but she does.
With as many films as there have been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there have been many times where some deleted scenes, if implemented into the final versions of the films, would have changed the course of the rest of the films. Like the time when Peter Parker decided it was a good idea to fight with Doctor Strange, then make everyone forget who he is. Of course for selfless reasons, but still. First, director Joss Whedon recorded a final scene showing Quicksilver survives after taking bullets meant for Hawkeye and a child. Whedon revealed that they did shoot a scene where Quicksilver survived the Battle of Sokovia just in case Disney and Marvel Studios overruled his decision to kill the character. The sequence wasn't used because Whedon's decision with regard to the character's fate was kept.
We fight robots.
Today? You fight robots today? Or is next month better for you?
And before we get into more of these scenes, some Marvel trivia for you. What was the original name of Agent Coulson in the first Iron Man? Leave your answer in the comments down below and stick around to the end of the video to find out if your answer was correct.
I can't have this. Kids, do the math. I physically can't.
Neither can I.
In a more recent film, Thor Love and Thunder, this film had a deleted scene that expands Thor and the Guardians' story. In the scene, Quill begs Thor for an assist on a planet that was supposed to be a relaxation destination. It turns out to be an all-out war. Taika Waititi got far enough in mounting this scene to have practical battle effects popping off every which way, but have an unfinished Korg bumbling in the background.
Corgi, there you are. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, bro.
You have got to get us out of here. You remember when you told us that this was going to be a safe vacation? I said, are you certain? You said, oh yeah, 100%. Out of 1,000%.
And if the scene had actually made it into the movie, it would have been more of the more darkly comedic bits in the MCU history. In the Jade Giant solo film, there was a deleted scene that saw Bruce Banner transform into the Hulk in the North Pole. In this scene, there's a very subtle Easter egg that shows the Hulk smashing a frozen Captain America out of the ice, as a nod to the comics. If that scene would have been kept, then Steve Rogers' entire presence in the Marvel Cinematic Universe's modern times would have been altered, as would his first solo movie. But real quick, make sure you guys check out our Instagram page linked down in the description. There's a ton of interview moments and memes, so make sure you check it out and give us a follow. An extended take of Natasha Romanoff and Steve Rogers' discussion at the funeral of Peggy Carter in Captain America Civil War has Natasha talking about looking for her parents in Russia during her Avengers downtime and instead finding 2 little gravestones by a chain link fence. It's part of her overall message to Steve that all one can do is enjoy the things that they have while they have them. But as of Black Widow, it's also an anecdote that couldn't have actually happened.
To Russia and tried to find my parents. 2 little gravestones by a chain link fence. Just because it's the path of least resistance doesn't mean it's the wrong path. Staying together is more important than how we stay together.
And it's no surprise that the MCU decided the changes for these moments, as it's a possibility that whether these changes, the MCU wouldn't have been as great as it is today or now with the closing of Endgame. In Iron Man 2, fans might recall a scene where Tony Stark studies the old schematics of his father's Stark Expo to discover the hidden plans for a new element that could save his life. However, there is actually an extended version of that scene that features Tony ordering Jarvis to find out more information through S.H.I.E.L.D.'s files on Project Pegasus, Goliath, and Exodus.
Lucid landscaping, the shrubbery, the trees, parking lots, exits, entrances.
I will run a simulation to check element viability.
Yeah, Listen, you have a ball with that. I know it's gonna work.
In Avengers Endgame, Thanos learns the Avengers time heist in 2014, and then sends his daughter, Nebula, into the future to aid his own journey there. A plot point that made it at least as far as the conceptual stage, however, would have filled in a little of that empty time in 2014, Thanos' schedule, and in truly gruesome fashion. Off-screen, Thanos would travel to Earth in the year 2014 and slaughter its defenders. As director Joe Russo tells it, Anthony and I were clinging to this concept that we wanted Thanos to walk up to the Avengers and throw Captain America's head on the ground. We couldn't give up on it. And finally we said, alright, what if we don't do that? Can we find another way into the third act? And that's when we turned it into what it is now.
You just blow up the mothership.
We didn't know that was a thing.
You didn't know that was a thing! Everyone knows! Hey! There we go.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask, why did you have to crash the plane anyway?
His mom's on board.
And you couldn't have jumped out of the plane before you crashed it?
The true birth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe occurs when Nick Fury shows up at the end of Iron Man to tell Tony Stark he's not the only superhero, and is part of a bigger universe. An earlier take of the franchise's first post-credits stinger, however, was significantly more ambitious. Shot before property rights had fully been figured out, the alternate dialogue has Fury specifically mentioning gamma accidents, radioactive bug bites, and assorted mutants.
As if gamma accidents, radioactive bug bites, and assorted mutants weren't enough. I have to deal with a spoiled brat who doesn't play well with others and wants to keep all his toys to himself.
An early version of the script that made it all the way to the production had Thanos and his forces landing in Vormir after Natasha and Clint can get too far in their sacrificial debate. While Hawkeye holds them off, Black Widow makes a run for the cliff, getting shot several times along the way, and manages to launch herself off just as the Mad Titan himself comes into the frame. As editor Matthew Schmidt told Business Insider, the high-octane conflict was removed in favor of something more meaningful. It was reshot to make it more intimate between Clint and Natasha, which fully worked in the end version of the movie. We just came up with a better idea, something that serviced Natasha a little bit more. The final pre-credits scene in Avengers Age of Ultron features Captain America and Black Widow teasingly addressing the new Avengers roster that contains Sam Wilson, John Rhodes, Wanda Maximoff, and the Vision. But the team could have been all that and so much more. Not only was the alternate ending shot in which Maximoff survives and joins the assemblage, but there was also a version of the scene in which Carol Danvers appears out of nowhere, already in full Captain Marvel armor, with no prior introduction. According to Kevin Feige, it was a Joss Whedon idea that Feige turned down. Captain Marvel was in a draft, but to me, it would have done that character a disservice to meet her fully formed, in a costume and part of the Avengers already, when 99% of the audience would go, "Who is that?" It's just not the way we've done it before, he says.
Avengers!
And for a trivia question, Clark Gregg, who began his MCU arc in the first Iron Man, was originally supposed to be in 2 scenes. In fact, Agent Phil Coulson of S.H.I.E.L.D. was just an unnamed agent in the script. The director liked Gregg's chemistry with Downey and Gwyneth Paltrow and thus expanded the part. Perhaps the strangest deleted scene in all the non-canon of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is one from Thor Ragnarok, in which Yonda shows up on Asgard just in time to stop Scrooge from executing a hapless minor god, but only long enough to get directions to Kevin and Luis's offices, in reference to Kevin Feige and Luis Esposito. Timeline-wise, the scene occurs after Yonda's heroic demise in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and thus couldn't have actually happened.
Hey, stop it! Hold on, right there! Easy does it, hoss. You know where Kevin and Lou's offices are, y'all?
And honestly, with all the films that has come out thus far, it's interesting to see just how many differences there could be for each one of these films. But obviously the right choices were made in the end to create these brilliant films with each and every scene pieced together. And even with the film set in stone, with the script 100% finished, with all the creative minds on the team, there's bound to be differences or tweaks in the middle of shooting, but they have to be careful in choosing the outcome of each scene or changing something, as it has to make sense moving forward and what the characters would do. An alternate ending for Thor was an early hint at a much bigger MCU. It's common knowledge that S.H.I.E.L.D. deals with threats on Earth, but its intergalactic equivalent is SWORD, the Sentiment World Observation and Response Department. The deleted scene featured Eric Selvage creating a wormhole to find the God of Thunder. He then told Jane Foster and Darcy that they would coordinate the data between S.H.I.E.L.D. and SWORD to find out more. So what did you guys think about all this? Which scene did you think would have been the most impactful to the MCU if the creators did decide to put one in? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe with notifications on for more videos just like this. That's it for today though. We'll see you all next time with a brand new video.